Hello and welcome to the Slapshot Syndicate podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more content, and whilst you're at it, go and follow our social media pages. They're on screen now. Now, on to the episode.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Slapshot Syndicate. Week one down of the season, and it's been filled with drama, goals, and maybe a few surprises along the way. We're back, we're going to talk through the week and break down some of the highs and lows. So lads, another episode, what are you making of this week so far?
Very interesting. So some teams didn't expect to come out like that at all. Other teams probably fallen short of where they need to be. So far it's going to make for a very interesting season. Our predictions could be also very interesting. So stay tuned.
I can't recall. I mean, we've only been watching for a couple of years, haven't we? But I can't recall a season that started this wild. You know, there's plenty of teams that you wouldn't have been able to predict here, there, and wherever they are. And I mean, that's why ice hockey is the best sport in the world, isn't it? And our league's definitely a contributing factor, definitely for us for that. But yeah, great start to the season. Couldn't believe it. It was constantly, oh my God, have you seen this score? Have you seen this score? So yeah, it was a class opening weekend. What do you make, Az?
Yeah, I think it was really good. Like you say, it was nice to go to the away game for us in Sheffield, then have the home game. But then, like you say, when we was leaning in and just, have you seen that score? You seen what's happening? You know, like you say, it was a wild ride with this first week. I hadn't seen a first week much like it. So long may it continue, I say.
Definitely.
With that said, then, fellas, let's get into the Seahawks reaction. So, fellas, week one of the season, Hull Seahawks. I was slightly surprised here, to be honest with you. With my predictions was win one, lose one, but in the end, we've gone for two losses straight off the bat against arguably two teams that we probably predicted would be thereabouts in the long run. Apart from Brad, who's put Swindon in fifth, but we won't get into that, Brad. So,
at least I didn't put Seahawks in there.
Let's start with Saturday then, shall we, lads? We all ended up going to the Sheffield Arena for the away game. Like you say, highly anticipated game. We was a bit unsure how it would go, but we was excited to see what Sheffield had to offer, and we saw exactly what they had to offer. So I'll come to you first, Rossy. What did you make of it?
There's been loads of talk this summer about how good Sheffield are going to be, and can they take that step forward in terms of their project? I know this is Seahawks React, but quickly touching on Sheffield, because obviously that was our opponent. I was really impressed with them. They've definitely made a few forward steps in that respect. Slava has got them really well drilled. So I think looking from the outside looking in, it was always going to be quite a difficult first fixture for us. I thought that there was definitely flashes of us playing really well in that game. But yeah, real tough fixture that. I think they sort of put us under the cosh a little bit in the second period. I thought first period was all right. You know, we got the goal and bits and bobs like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think they sort of controlled or took the sort of game by the scruff of the neck in the second period, and then obviously in the third it was sort of more of a case of us trying to chase the game rather than us being able to control it, which I think we like as a team. I don't think we really like being the ones that chase. I think Matty's style of hockey is to go out there, get control of the game and run it. So it don't really go in our favour in that respect.
Brothers?
Yeah, similar to what Al's just said. To be honest with you, I didn't go into it feeling overly confident just because this isn't the same Sheffield team we've seen. We knew they've made some improvements, and we just was there to sort of see what they had to offer. I did think we probably underachieved there in that ring, but first thing I noted was how big the ice pad was. That's the first time I'd been to the Steel Dogs Arena, and it looked massive. And obviously our home pad, I don't know if it's just the size of the arena or where we sit or anything, it looks a lot smaller. So we're probably used to playing a little bit tighter in some respects. And in my opinion, that sort of showed. There was they was using the space very wisely, and it seemed like we was getting pulled out quite a bit. But when we did make some plays, we made some fantastic plays, and we had obviously Bobby Chamberlain getting his hat trick on the night. He was phenomenal. And we'll talk about that Svek backhand pass to the near post where Bobby slotted it in. That was a phenomenal goal. But all in all, I mean, if you asked us last year, we'd be very disappointed to come with the loss, and we still are. But in the same sense, it's also a completely different side, and Steel Dogs look like they're going to be a real competitor this season. So maybe it's good that we've got this out of the way with, and we know what the benchmark is and where we need to improve, and what lines we're going to run. There was a few odd moments, weren't there, of running like Sobs on second line, for example. And I know that's probably a depth thing with not having Huey, having a couple of players out. We didn't have Chilcott, so it was, we didn't have our full D there. So there's lots of excuses you can make, but ultimately, I just think they were the better team on the night, and that they're going to be a tough team to beat this season. And if we want to get results from them, we're going to have to play a little bit harder, I think.
Yeah, I think you've both made cracking points there, to be honest with you. I think, Brad, you've made some good points that we can sort of build on and talk about there. But for those who don't know, Seahawks took the game 5-3 in the end. Bit of false hope from the Seahawks, who took the first period 1-0. And, that comes back to that great Emil Svek drop pass, back reverse on the front post, and Bobby Chamberlain slapped it behind the keeper. And, some goal on the night. It was great. I think most goals on the night were really good when we watched it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most games we actually outshot the opposition last season. And we went into this and we was outshot by 22 attempts on goal, which was a bit of a concern for me because, again, we are a high shot counting team, and maybe it is down to that slight change on the lines, like you mentioned there, Brad, as, Sobchak moving on to that second line and Stallard going on to top line. I don't know. For me personally, I would rather have stuck what with a line that scored 300 points thereabouts last season. Do you stick with consistency, or is it worth changing things up? I don't know. I don't know if something was seen or it's a game management change. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's an odd one because Matty had to do something to make the depth of the squad like better, because without Huey there, you sort of have a void to fill, don't you? And that third line has been so good over certainly in pre-season, from what we've seen. And to take Huey out of it, you want to try and keep that line strong. So I don't necessarily disagree with what he did. I just think our biggest strength is him on the first line, which Matty will know that, the lads will know that, but in terms of options, I don't think he had many. And just going back, to that third line, to me, it seems like that's where we're going to pick up a lot of points this season. Is having that strength there. We should be able to, whether that's just the normal run of play, we seem to have quite a bit of firepower. So I sort of get the decision to do it because he wants to keep that line strong. But yeah, it's a tough one. One thing I wanted to know as well is, how good their defense was as well. CJ Garcia that's the first time I've seen him play ice hockey, and he was a fantastic player. So they were set up pretty solid, to be honest with you. So I think any team this season is gonna struggle to get past Steel Dogs, and if they do, they can't expect the same result if they go to theirs or when it's a flip fixture. But yeah, it's a very, very tough one to call. Again, early days. Would you say with a full squad we could have taken the result? And if it was at our place, possibly. But I think there's levels to it, and we've just shown that perhaps this weekend we're not really there yet. And that's not to say it won't come, and hopefully it does. But shaking off a bit of rust now, aren't we? We had more pre-season games than anyone, I think, or more than the majority of the teams in the league. So you would have hoped that by this point would have been a bit further on. And also, you know, we had, was it Fudge got a bit of a knock, and then Stallard, he got a bit of a knock this season. So, yeah, I don't really know how to feel about it. I'm not being too overly cautious with it because you know, it's a long season and every team's going to pick up injuries and stuff. But I just think something's got to give, and if it doesn't give soon, we might find ourselves chasing for the rest of the season. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I don't know. Let you go first, Ross, if you want. What's your take on it?
I think it was interesting in terms of the lines. You can understand why Sobs may go down the line because he's played with Callie Robertson before, and he'll have certainly been a pull factor for Callie to come to us. Obviously, Johnny Cornell's on that line with those two as well, and that three as a line's great. I personally really liked that line with Stally in there. I feel like Stallard was sort of, you know, the one that let Johnny and Callie go and play, you know. But that might have been the thinking in terms of first line as well. Let Chamber and Svek go and play, and look what them two did. You know, they linked up like no tomorrow. But I definitely do think, Brad, is what you were saying about the, you know, missing players and Huey and people like that, and having to sort of move players around to accommodate for that. It was a factor, and if not, then obviously they can say otherwise, and that's fine. But I think when you've got the likes of Lee Bonner on third line, you always want a strong third line to match up against other third lines, because we've all seen what Bones can do this season, this pre-season, against other third lines and against good matchups. And we'll pride ourselves on that, and we'll do well this season by getting points through our lines. But I do agree, as I personally would like to see Sobs on first line. I don't know what the factors are around that. I don't know whether we don't know the circumstances, but I just think I'll echo what you said. 300 points between the three of them last season isn't a coincidence. Their chemistry is unmatched. And when we did the fan debate the other week, I mentioned that top line. I said there wasn't a better first line, and there was nobody on that full episode that disagreed. So, you know, it is that, isn't it? We can say one thing or the other. Matty knows the reason why he did that. And if, you know, he thinks that was the right decision, then we've got to go with it. And if he doesn't, then that'll change. And I know on the Sunday night, it did change after the first period, didn't it? And so we went back to that first line. And yeah, but I think overall, the line changes was a factor maybe in terms of, you know, people still trying to find those link ups and, you know, build chemistry. If you're going to change those lines, it needs to work pretty quickly, doesn't it? And if it doesn't, then you're going to have circumstances like that where you might have a bit of a dry period and maybe you're not getting the shots off, or that second pass isn't going to, you know, the right person. And, you know, when Chamberlain, Svek and Sobs have been playing with each other for this long, it just becomes second nature. You know where it's going to be. And that's kind of like what Sheffield looked like. There was two passes, and before one of the players had even made that pass, you knew exactly where it was going, back door, and bang, it was a goal. So chemistry is a real important thing, isn't it? And, you know, I think changing up the lines it's a tricky situation, and it's got to work straight away. So yeah, it was definitely a factor. What do you reckon, Az?
I think it was a big factor changing of the lines, but I'm also concerned of losing that sort of, you know, that bond there between the three of them from last season. I'm worried it'll affect the power play as well. So just looking on the night, both teams had three, you know, power plays, and we had the best power play in the league last season, and it hasn't quite looked right this weekend so far. You know, for a power play that was always pretty lethal, it just seemed to be lacking that bit of sauce, really. And I don't know if, again, that comes down to Hewitt, because when we see him on the power play, he just seems to be able to get that little pass in there and set us up for the goals. But I just hope that, you know, it's worth trying these things, but it quickly resolves itself, you know, and we can get back to flying and scoring great goals. Because in my opinion, although we scored 3 goals, there was quite hard-worked goals to score in comparison to what Sheffield was doing, you know. Sheffield did play really well on the night. I think in the second period, sort of halfway through the game, you sort of saw that momentum change, and we almost looked a bit leggy, in my opinion. And I don't know if that does come back to like what you said there, Brad, about the rink being a bit bigger or whatnot. I didn't really understand that for it being so early in the season. I know we played more games than the others, but surely that should energise the legs a bit more. But we just seem to be really struggling with that, and I think that did tell in the third period, because they were sort of penning us back or making nice little breaks on us. I would go into this though, and just on Sheffield's point of view and going into the Swindon game, the two players that I was massively wanting to see this weekend was CJ Garcia and Ben O'Connor, and one of them impressed me, and the other one, I think people are being blowing too much smoke up the ring piece, if you know what I mean, because I wasn't massively convinced. But it's one of those where if you've seen them on a good night, a bad night, or whatnot. But overall, I think Sheffield have, I predicted they would win this game, and they did. Quite convincingly, I might say, in the end. The score would be a bit closer, but I feel there was a jump above us, to be honest with you. Maybe it'll come in time, but I think we need to really step it up.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of luck there, wasn't there? We saw that. I mean, we rode our luck a little bit last week in pre-season against Solway, I think, for some of the goals. There was a little bit of luck there for Sheffield, but then you've got to make your luck, haven't you? And I think that's what they did. They just worked hard throughout and outplayed us, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, shall we go on to the Sheffield matchup on the Sunday?
The Swindon game, yeah.
Sorry, the Swindon game, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously Swindon at home for us. I think we predicted this would be the tougher of the two games from the offset. And again, it was a tough one for us because, we didn't get the result again. Coming out of this one, the Hull Seahawks lost 4-2 at home. It was a bit of a strange game, I thought. From the off, it seemed to be a bit end-to-end. Nobody really took a grip of the game. But Swindon taking it in the end with the quality. And I think, again, their legs sort of showed. They had a great forechecking game. They was willing to just sort of dump and chase, and we was chasing shadows. And they made some good plays and some good goals. What did you
think? Again, though, I just want to say, like, slightly, we were slightly unlucky. I mean, the fourth goal, Swindon, obviously, just before the end was they had a bit of luck and
empty net.
It was empty net, but they knocked it off the side, didn't they? And it was sort of like bouncing towards the goal, and Sobs was chasing it back and just didn't manage to get there in the end. I thought that was quite lucky, and I was quite disappointed that it ended that way, because it really had the feeling of like that goal to take it into OT, which would have just been fantastic for us, because we really started ramping up the pressure towards the end of that game. And I think we started off okay, but then it sort of fell off the face of a cliff for a while, didn't it? And again, to note in this, for the third period, we didn't have Jordan Stallard, did we? Because he picked up a knock. So it feels like we're being dealt some cards here that are forcing us to overcome it. I don't know whether that's a blessing in disguise in the long run, in that you sort of overcome that adversity to begin with, rather than at crucial points in the season where you've got to be picking up points because you're fighting for playoff places, or you're fighting for league titles or cups and stuff. So it could be a blessing in disguise, and I know Matty will sort of get the best out of them when he gets them all together after the dust has settled a little bit after this weekend. I think they'll really shake off some rust, and it might be a bit of a wake up call for them. But yeah, all in all, quite a decent game. I was a bit surprised about how good Swindon were, but I don't feel like they played up to their capabilities this weekend. I don't think we did, but for me, the game was anyone's to win at one point, and like you said, it was a bit like end to end. You didn't really know what was going to happen, so it was there for the taking. I just think in the end they probably wanted it a little bit more. But yeah, it was nice to see. Obviously, we've been curious, haven't we, to see what teams are going to do over the start of the seasons, and to be able to see two of those big teams, theoretically big teams this season in person was good. And I think it gave us a real good insight as to what we can expect, where we need to be So take the positives.
Rossy?
I think the initial reaction, Callie Robertson getting that goal so early was perfect. I thought, Matty's really drilled it into him, saying you need to get out there and get in their face. And the fact that we did that, and then we went on that little couple of minutes spell where we looked good and dangerous, was great. But then I think Swindon sort of settled into the game, and they didn't let anything get on top of them. And then they obviously got a goal after about 5 minutes. I think it was Eddie Bedbury's, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And it felt like as soon as they got that goal, they were like, yeah, all right then. And we were sort of like, oh, because we're used to going at teams and being in control for long periods. But that weren't the case. And obviously, then we led up with a penalty, and he got another one, didn't he, Bedbury's, I think? Power play, wasn't it? And yeah, but it had a feel of, you're definitely right there, Brad, is where you said about, it was just end-to-end, sort of like very tight, scrappy. It was an interesting one. Like the game was, before that fourth goal, the game was 3-2 for nearly half an hour. So, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? The fact that it was just like end-to-end and stuff like that. One thing I will say is this is for both keepers as well. So, because I think Dima had an absolutely cracking game on Saturday night, but I think Jordan McLaughlin this weekend really had to. That's just sworn then. Sorry. Really had to keep us in the game. At times, I think. For whatever's been said previously by whoever, he did have a really solid game, and he made some really good saves as well. But yeah, I think another day, if Swindon have really let the reins go, it could have been a hell of a lot different. So yeah, I just think that it was a really tough way to go. But again, I don't want to come on here and be like, we deserve to win that game, because I think we know, I think most of the fans know, and I think Matty and the boys will know that it was probably the 2 points probably went to the right team.
Yeah, I think you both made cracking points there. I won't drone on and repeat what you both said there. I think the biggest things to take away from the weekend, and I just wanted to follow up with what you just said there, Rossy, is both goaltenders was quality. Yeah. I've been battered for saying things about Geordie at times and being honest in my opinion. But I think both goalkeepers faced some serious hardware this weekend, and both came up trumps. When you're facing that many shots, you're going to concede at some point. And, big credit to both of them. It'd be difficult to pick who starts in goal next weekend, in my opinion.
100%.
They both made some saves where you're just like, no, right, to be honest with you. Or you kept us in it. Like you say, half an hour at 3-2, still making saves, being pressured, and there was both quality. So that was the sort of first point I wanted to make on the weekend. And then for those of us, obviously, who support Seahawks, we got the sort of post-game interviews, which I thought was quite interesting, to be honest with you. So, yeah. Obviously, from the Saturday, Emil Svet got his 2 or 3 points in assists and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm sure he got some assists on the night on the Sunday. But the biggest point I wanted to make is that Matty also pointed him out as one of the names that didn't really live up to the expectation on the night, which I thought was quite interesting, to be honest with you. And I know we've sort of talked about it since, and I've said, you live and die as a team, especially this early in the season. I wouldn't be pointing the finger. I think you can question Emmy's work rate at time, but he's providing points, assists and goals over the weekend, and I just found it a bit of a weird one to point players, which I thought was really interesting. What do you two make of that then?
I think Emmy had decent games, to be honest with you. I mean, the rumor was, again, could be complete, to be honest with you, but the rumor was that he put Stallard on first line to sort of pick up some of the work rate of Svek, which I don't know. I don't really feel like it's needed, to be honest. I feel like Svek had all right games. I just like you said, I think it's more of a team thing than an individual thing. And I watched Matty's interview last night, and I don't know if it was just in the heat of the moment and him talking to the fans after a double loss on the first weekend where you really want to make an impression where sort of the emotions come out. But I don't think he was overly critical of Svek. I think he just name dropped him, and there's probably a lot of the team where they need to do the soul searching, and that's what he kept saying, wasn't it? It's soul searching. They have to do soul searching. He needs to look in the mirror and ask himself what he's doing. And I don't think there was loads wrong. I just feel like it didn't click. I feel like it didn't click, and we're just waiting for that moment for it all to go into gear. So, yeah, it's an odd one. I don't think they should be too disheartened. And as a diehard fans of the team, I don't think we should be either, and we're not. We came away from them both games that weekend upset that we didn't win, but not feeling too positive because there were signs. Sorry, not feeling too negative because there were signs of positivity and that we could get goals. I mean, there was moments of quality that came out, and Svek not normally comes up with them. And whilst he might not have been the best he plays last night on Sunday, on Saturday, I thought he had a phenomenal game, and he was all over the shop and put that pass into Bobby, which was absolute filth. So yeah,
Bob got the plaudits on Saturday, didn't he? But a large part of what Bobby did in terms of goal output was due to Svek. Arguably, you could argue that. Not saying that Bobby didn't have a good game at all, because Bobby was class. But yeah, I wouldn't. Sorry to interrupt you there, Brad, but I just wanted to chime in with that little point. If you had anything else to add, mate.
No, go from it.
I don't know. I thought that Svek and Chamber linked up really well on Saturday. I would agree. I wouldn't say that Svek had his best game on Sunday night, but there aren't very many players that I'd pick out of a hat and say, yeah, they've had a class game tonight. And that's not me bashing the Seahawks. That's just an observation. I think Swindon made it hard. I don't think the chemistry was there. I think Matty was very honest in his interview by saying, that they had a rubbish. I think was it maybe first or second. He was like, I think he said something like that was the worst first period I've seen in ages, or something like that. And he said it settled in the second period, which is true because again we shut it down a little bit and it was even for a long time. But yeah, I wouldn't look at Svek and be like, no, he played rubbish. But obviously we're seeing our side of it, aren't we? We're not necessarily seeing the other side of it. And perhaps he didn't mean to go out there and sort of put Svek's name in the hat as if to be like it was his fault tonight. But which I obviously highly doubt that he did. But I don't know. I just think I was surprised when he name dropped Svek. Maybe that's just because he's built a reputation for himself of being that guy you can rely on, and for the large part of this season, he probably will be that player. But I also think when it comes to the point where he doesn't have that game, then I don't know. It's not if Svek don't play well, we lose, and it's his fault kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, just to sort of wrap up this segment here, I think there's a disappointment there, but it's not wholehearted disappointment. Like you both said, there's some positive things to come from it. There was some good play, some nice goals, and I think we just need to look forward to the next weekend. The initial sort of thing, I was like, I'm gutted there, to be honest with you. But in reality, I mean, when we've done our predictions, I thought we'd lose one anyway, and I thought we'd win the other. And, on another night, we would have won one of those games either way, a bit more effort, more cohesion in the lines, in the team. And maybe it does click. I wouldn't go to panic stations yet. I think other teams have had worse starts, 100%. Even in that position. So, yeah, I think we'll finish up on that there, lads. Must do better, but it's not the worst we've seen.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the results from around the league. So now we're going to look at the results from the weekend, fellas. First of all, I just wanted to note that not all games counted as both League and Cup to start the season off. It was only Telford and Leeds whose both games did count towards League and Cup, which makes it quite interesting with what happened over the weekend. So we'll jump straight into it then. It was the 20th September, which was the Saturday. First game, Leeds Knights, Telford Tigers, and a good one to start us off here, I think. And we all didn't do very well with our predictions on this, and it's a real eye-opener. Who wants to set us off?
People are sleeping on Telford, mate.
Mate, I'll tell you what. I'm going to be the first one to say it. Like when we was doing our predictions and tables last week, there was just a feeling that I had about them, and it might go clinically wrong, and they might just like nosedive from now. But I'm riding this because I genuinely do think that if they carry on with the momentum that they had in the back end of the season, they'll do all right this year. And to go to the Castle of all places, where they've won the league and the cup last year, and to win 7-4. That is some result, that.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that for those that haven't seen the results, this was a 7-4 victory at Leeds for the Telford Tigers, and nobody saw this one coming, and fair play for Telford. We said about they'd kept a sort of solid core, and even in pre-season they'd been real gritty and horrible, and they wasn't afraid to drop the gloves in pre-season, and that sort of horrible attitude that they have has done them well here in the first game of the season. And like you say, we've mentioned about Leeds and how they didn't look the same sort of team, when they came to play us in pre-season. And maybe that it's partly that, but I also don't want to discredit that Telford have absolutely flown out the blocks here. And 7-4 was not a scoreline I would have predicted there, to be honest with you. 7 goals for Telford on the first game is mega, and big credit to them going in that first game.
Can I give just like a random cool stat about that game as well? It isn't like that in that Telford game that anybody was the instigator. One player's just had a worldie. There wasn't one player on the Telford team that scored more than 2 points in that game. So that the depth there, the way they spread that out for me is unbelievable.
That's exactly what I was just going to say, Al. Is like you can't exactly pin that to one thing because it was clearly just a good team performance. And I was. We've talked about Leeds, haven't we? In pre-season, saying like you'd be a fool to write them off, and I still believe that is the case. That this isn't a accurate representation of their whole season just yet. But you would never write them off. So we know they're not the same team as they was last season. But to go to the Castle and pick up a result like that is still a phenomenal thing, like for Telford, and I think they've really shown some teams what they're going to be about. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for them, so for me it's really nice to see. And I know we've been chatting with a few of the lads that play there, and they're really building on the momentum out there and they're loving it at the moment. So I imagine the vibe in that locker room is going to be, they're going to be ecstatic with that, aren't they? To come out the blocks, get them points on the board, both of which are for the league as well. So they're leading the charge at the moment. So your likes of, Swindon, MK and stuff, they're going to be probably asking themselves some questions at the minute. So yeah, interesting result.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll move on to the next game. So Swindon Wildcats and Solway. Swindon taking this 3-1 at home. I don't think this was too much of a surprise. I think we'd all sort of backed Swindon to take this one. Not massively high scoring. I think maybe we went a bit higher on this one and expected maybe a bit more out of Swindon. The situation with Solway not having their own ice at the minute and having to do a lot of travel. But potential, signs from this where Solway could do a bit of damage themselves going down the road. But Swindon, like I say, expectedly winning that game. You got any points for this one?
Interestingly, Solway outshot Swindon in this game, and Rennie Marr was the one who got the player of the match. So you are right, as in terms of Swindon, it's a tough old draw for your first game, especially at the Link. It's not the easiest travel for Solway. They're getting Carter Hamill back, who didn't play against us in pre-season. So we don't know how many sessions he's had with the Solway lads, but he got his first goal on the night, which is a positive. But yeah, I think the wheels will start to turn with them. They've got to take the positives from that, and the 3-1 loss against Swindon isn't necessarily the worst result in the world, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I agree with that. Talking to some of the lads from Swindon as well, they commented on how good Solway were actually in that performance, and probably that the score didn't reflect the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's a credit to Solway and what they've got. Obviously, they've had all the adversity in the world, haven't they, at the start of this season. So to try and overcome that, I mean, they didn't get much of a pre-season. Their training was done in a ring. Well, that was they couldn't get a Zamboni around. It was that small. They've had a lot of struggles. So to come out and put in a performance like that against Swindon, who we know are going to be a good team this season, isn't necessarily a bad thing. And to be recognised for that as well from the opposition, they know they're going to be a problem. So where Solway have been a problem to travel to historically for teams, I think that's gonna carry on through this season. I would love to go to Solway's first home game at their rink, to be honest with you, and see what it's like, because I bet that atmosphere is something else, and I can't wait to see what the result is at their first home game as well.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. Be great to see what Solway can put on. You know, I've put them to finish quite well this season, and I think it will click for them in time once they get the home ice back and they're doing the travel to and from. You know, and people have got to go there. I think their home gaff will be a big one for them this season, and they might just take a few scalps. I think.
Definitely.
Moving on then, fellas. Milton Keynes and Bristol Pitbulls. MK taking this one 7-2. Again, I don't think this one was a massive surprise. Some of us might have guessed the correct score on this one as well. We won't get onto that just yet. But yeah, Milton Keynes taking it. Any shock? Any real surprises here?
No, not really.
That's what it says on the tin.
Yeah, Dom Gabai got a 4.9 here, and a lot of people were saying like, he's come from the Bees, but can he do it for the Lightning? And he's a bit old, and we'd like a younger import, but he's done the business in that game, hasn't he? And he'll bring, now that Tim Wallace is back on the bench, you know, just being the coach, I think that experience is well needed, and obviously that's shone through on that game, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're bang on there. I think you can't undervalue somebody who's got experience, regardless of age. There's a bit of know-how, and I think we have that with Hewitt at times, don't we? Where you know he's one of the older guys on the team, but they just see the game a bit different and have that little spark of magic at times, which can turn a game in your favour.
Definitely.
And the final game on the Saturday, we won't go into this one too much. Sheffield Steel Dogs and Hull Seahawks. Steel Dogs taking this one 5-3. We've already discussed this one at length. I wasn't massively surprised. I backed Sheffield to win this one. I'm expecting big things from Sheffield, and for us to maybe push ourselves and benchmark ourselves there in time. But I don't think we need to gloss over it too much on that one, do we?
No.
Let's move on.
Move on. So the first game on the Sunday, we have the Bristol Pitbulls and the Solway Sharks. Pitbulls 6-2 here, which we've just mentioned about how Solway give a decent game and outshot Swindon at the link. But I read that apparently the second period was a real stinker for Solway, and this is where I think they'd conceded 3 or 4 goals in a really quick period or something like this, and it really fell apart from them. And I was a bit surprised by that.
Yeah, they conceded 3 goals from the 24:09 to 25:39. So literally just start, finish, which ain't great, is it? They actually got the first goal in the 21st minute as well. So 4 goals in 4 minutes, which, yeah, they actually went in 1-0 up, and by the end of the second period, there was 5-1 down, which isn't great, is it? But I know, yeah, whatever Mrs. Smetham has cooked for dinner on the Sunday afternoon, Reese and Owen had an absolute blinder. The brothers, the brothers from Bristol, I think they linked up for pretty much. Both of them was involved in every goal. Reese Smetham got a hat-trick. Owen Smetham got 2, but there was just assist, goals. Like, kudos to them.
Performance enhancing roasties.
Yeah, get them a urine test on the go. No, absolutely kudos to them boys.
Yeah, I was massively surprised about this. I think I backed Solway to take this one at face value. So I was real surprised that not only Solway didn't win, but they got a bit of a tan in as well, which was a real surprise.
Yeah, I think, you know, like you said, it's just that quick succession of leaking goals in it. So the result probably didn't reflect how the whole game went. It was just that short period of time where they leaked goals, and by the point they've done that, it's just got away from them, and then they've got a mountain to climb, which is a tough mountain for anyone to climb in this league. So yeah, maybe, I don't know. What do you guys think? Did you maybe think with the lack of pre-season and obviously the travel to Swindon and then Bristol the next day, maybe they just got a little bit leggy. There's still a bit of rust to shake off, get a bit in match fitness, and that's maybe why they've leaked them goals. I don't know, but again, I actually expected this to be quite close. If anything, Solway probably edging it.
Yeah, you're completely right. I agree. I think it was the sort of lack of games, the legs going a bit, and there's still a lot of confidence in that dressing room. We had a message from Jake Bolton, and he still thinks that team are going to really do well this season. So it's good that they aren't letting these early games get to them, and that they are confident that they can turn this around.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
So we'll move on to the next game, the Romford Raiders and the Sheffield Steel Dogs. And this one we was keeping an eye on the Sunday between the Seahawks, weren't we? So Steel Dogs taking this one 4-3 in overtime. And they had to come from 3-1 down, I believe, at one point. So as good as Sheffield looked against Seahawks on the Saturday, maybe it just depleted them a little bit and they seem to struggle here against Romford. What do you think to this one?
Yeah, a bit of an odd one, that, innit? I was quite shocked, especially after seeing what Sheffield did to us on the Saturday night. I was going into this thinking it was going to be a walkover. Again, you look at the result that the results that Romford was getting last season and the challenges they've had with like losing people to Basingstoke. We was never fully confident that this was going to be their season, but for them that's probably a good result. Do you think they've maybe overachieved and Sheffield have just managed to scrape the win there? I don't know, but yeah, just an odd goal to take them to overtime, get a point from it. They'll probably be happy with that. We certainly would have been happy with it, wouldn't we? On Saturday, if we'd have just taken 1 point away. So yeah.
I think I don't know whether it's a blessing or a curse at the minute for Romford, but everyone is underestimating them. And they've dragged a point out of here without the likes of Sean Miller in the team. Sean Miller didn't play in that game. So it shows some character for them boys to stick their heels in and say, no, we're going to try and get something from this game. There's no shame whatsoever in getting a point off the Steel Dogs, especially with that team that we saw on Saturday night. I wouldn't even like to say, I think, the travel to Romford's a long way and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that's discrediting Romford. But for everyone to be like, they're going to be rock bottom, they're not going to do anything this season, it might make teams underestimate them and it might play in their favour. So they probably won't mind, to be honest. And I don't think they'll have been happy with their pre-season, like, by all means. I wouldn't say they'd be singing and dancing about it. But at the same time, for the other teams to underestimate them, that might just play in their favour.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I like that. I think Romford might be a team to pick up a few more points on the unexpected. We'll move on. Another quick one to glaze over. Hull Seahawks at home to Swindon Wildcats. Wildcats taking it 4-2, which we've obviously talked about. Swindon 4-point weekend for them as well. Good start for them. Yeah. Apart from Brad, we expected Swindon to be quite up there in the table come the end of the season, and they've started off really well, 4 points. So fair play to Swindon there, and they're a great product, aren't they?
Yeah.
The next one, another bit of a shocker. This one, Peterborough 4, Leeds Knights 3. So Leeds 0-point weekend, 2 defeats, and is it time to worry this early? I don't know, but not.
Maybe given that, was it one for the league, one for the cup?
Something like that, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
both games counted towards league and cup for Leeds.
League and cup. Maybe it is a little bit worrying then for them. If you're not going for the league, you're going for the cup, aren't you? So yeah, worrying signs to begin with. I don't know what Aldi's thinking at the minute, whether he's just accepted that this is a rebuild for him, and they're gonna, come back probably next year with a bit more momentum, bit of strength, or they've just come into it thinking, nah, this is our league and we're gonna win it again and not worry. Peterborough are a solid team though. We know that they've still got the likes of Luke Ferrara, and that's we knew they would put up points. I just didn't think we would see the same Peterborough team now that Slav has obviously gone to Sheffield. So it's probably more of a credit to them, to Peterborough. They're again maybe a little bit of an underdog this season. They'll just go about their business thinking people are going to write us off because of the changes that's happened, and then they'll slowly but surely pick up results, and before you know it, like last season, they'll be in the race in playoffs and potentially making Final Four. So who knows? But it's a great result for Peterborough, and they should be happy with it. If I'm Leeds, if I'm a Leeds fan, I'm probably going to be asking questions now though.
Completely agree with you. I can't say anything else. Disappointing start for Leeds, and I think maybe a few things might be thrown around. Maybe it'd be interesting for some of the fans maybe to drop a comment and just see what they made of it, if they actually turned up to, first of all, the Telford game at home, and maybe if they did travel to Peterborough, it'd be interesting to get a bit of an insight there, see how the game actually played out. We'll move on again then, fellas. So the final fixture of the weekend, Telford Tigers, Milton Keynes Lightning. So obviously the Saturday was maybe a freak result for the Telford Tigers, and they've turned around and says, you know what, this is our standard now. Telford Tigers taking it 6-3 against Milton Keynes. So
that might be result of the weekend, that.
I think their results in total was probably some weekend that. I don't know if many weekends will top that. The fact that Telford, a team that just got into the playoffs last season, beat the top two from last season. So the playoff winners, the league winners and the cup winners, they dispatched them in the opening weekend.
Unbelievable.
Nuts that.
That is...
I don't know what sort of night MK had, but we all had them as favourites to begin with, didn't we, to win the league? And it was probably looking more favourable as well after their first performance, and you thought, ooh, Telford would have probably gone there and got the loss, but no, I think they've shown them what they're about, and they probably come away a little bit shell shocked from it, thinking, what the hell just happened? So yeah, I wish in some senses that was a double header, because that'd have been very interesting for MK to go to Telford and then Telford go to MK. That'd have been very, very interesting. So, but yeah, no, that's a phenomenal result for Telford. They're probably, surprising that they might have been out on the champagne afterwards, thinking, that's it, lads. This league's ours this season, and the cup, and then we'll take Final Four as well.
I'm just looking at the stats from the game, actually. Telford outshot MK at home as well. So it's evident there that they've made it really hard for them. And, they scored 3 power play goals. The MK had 5 penalties. It's evident that Telford haven't just sat back and thought, oh, we'll wait for these to come at us. Like, Telford have owned that situation, and yeah, like we mentioned earlier, we've been speaking to a couple of their lads, haven't they? And they have a real good feel about the group this year, and they're going to be a team that people are sleeping on. So you need to have your eyes open if they're coming to your rink.
Yeah, I think as we said it a lot towards the back end of last season, but your home ice, you want to defend, and first of all, to go away to Leeds, you never expect to really get anything from that. You try and make it as difficult as possible, but to get a massive result on the road is one thing. And then they've held their own ice, and it's to be able to have your away form match your home form at an early point in the season, I think is a big, big thing. If they can continue to take a few points like that, it may be early doors yet, and down the long run, it might all be, do you remember when Telford ran away with it at the beginning? But I think this at the minute sets them up for a good season. Them guys will want to be in playoffs regardless at the end of the season. If they can finish top, fair play to them, but it is a really good standing point for the first weekend, in my opinion.
1,000%.
Should go over the standings.
Yeah, so let's get into the standings then, fellas. So we'll go over the league first, and then we'll go over the cup standings. Obviously, like you say, the games merging, yada, yada, yada. So we'll start off with the league. So Telford Tigers, top of the list. 2 played 4 points, followed by Swindon in second, 2 played 4 points. Then followed in third by Sheffield, also 2 played 4 points. So maximum points for 3 of the teams to get us going. Milton Keynes bring up 4th position, 2 played 2 points. Peterborough 5th, 1 played 2 points. Bristol 6th, 2 played 2 points. Romford in 7th, 1 played 1 point. Seahawks 8th, 2 played 0 points. Leeds in 9th, 2 played 0 points. Solway 10th, 2 played 0 points. And the Basingstoke Bison 11th currently, because I haven't played any games, and that is with 0 points. Any comments you want to throw on that one then, lads, to talk about the league standings after the first weekend?
No, not really.
All right, then we'll move swiftly on then to the cup standings then.
Yeah, let's go to the cup.
So the cup standings plays out slightly differently because not everybody's games of the weekend counted towards this, but Telford, both their games did, as I previously mentioned. So 2 played 4 points in the cup. They're the only team on 4 points currently. Sheffield Steel Dogs 2nd place in the cup, 1 played 2 points. Peterborough in 3rd, 1 played 2 points. Seahawks in 4th, 1 and 0. Milton Keynes 5th, 1 and 0. Leeds 6th, 2 and 0. And then you have Basingstoke, Bristol Pitbulls, Romford Raiders, Solway and Swindon, who all have 0 played, 0 points in the cup. I think all in all, lads, to sort of talk about the standings, both cup and league, it's looking really good for Telford, as we've just mentioned. Big credit to them. That's how you want to start a season, start as you mean to go on, and all that sort of good stuff. And I think those going to travel to Telford in the coming weeks might just be a bit more worried about that bit of travel now.
100%.
You know what? That cup's going to be real interesting this season.
Especially with Leeds' position.
Yeah, yeah. Not seeing Leeds at the top of that table to begin with, making it very, very interesting. And to seeing like we probably, I think we touched upon this in pre-season about Telford wanting cup, Sheffield wanting cup, Peterborough proven, to be the underdogs in these situations, and those are the top 3 teams fighting for it. That I don't know what's going to happen, because I think Steel Dogs are really going to go for that. I think they'll want that cup more than most. So I think they're going to be very difficult to beat. And obviously, they've only played the one game. The only benefit Telford have got is that they played the 2 arguably best teams in the league to get their results. So yeah, watch this space. I'm looking forward to see how that one plays out.
Bang on the money.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really interesting. So that sort of rounds up the fixtures for this first weekend, lads. We've sort of picked out our team of the week from this. So let's go into our next segment, which is Team of the Week. So, fellas, we've just been over the results for the first week, and we've had a little bit of a deep dive, and we've picked out some players that really stood out to us over the weekend. There were some great contenders, I must say, with some of the crazy scores, and there was a fair amount of goals over the week. But let's get straight into this, shall we? So I'll start off first. Our netminder of the week is going to go to Rennie Marr. So man of the match on Saturday in the home game against the Solway Sharks, a 3-1 win there. And again on the Sunday against Hull, he was absolutely phenomenal, pulling off some crazy saves. And I think even after the game, we'd said like he will win games and points on his own. He's absolutely unbelievable. Coming out with a 95.8 save average, 61 shots faced, 3 goals conceded, and a 4 weekend for Swindon. I mean, that is first week and he's already pulling up trees is a bit of a joke, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolute nuts. That is, he's an absolute mountain as well off the ice, isn't he? Like, he's a beast. But yeah, he'll definitely carry Swindon through. And if Swindon are going to take this next step this season, you need a big man between the sticks who's going to do the business, and he's exactly that.
Completely agree. So we'll do our first defenseman if you want to go with this one, Rossy.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to go to those who definitely deserve it this week. We're firstly going to go to the Telford Tigers, and our first defenseman is Canadian import Caelan McPhee. Hope I'm doing that justice. He was part of a team that was, they got a 4-point weekend against Leeds and MK. And he was a massive contributing factor with that. Leeds and MK didn't put a hell of a lot of goals past Telford, and he actually chipped in as well with 2 goals and 3 assists. So for an opening weekend for an import defenseman, you can't wince at that.
Great.
It's still, you saying that, Telford 4-point weekend against MK and Leeds just still doesn't right.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
It's a madness, that. Right then, Bradders, over to you, our second defenceman.
Yeah, second defenceman's Milton Keynes Lightning, Patrick Forsberg. He got 4 assists versus the Pitbulls in their 7-2 win on the Saturday, and he got an assist against Telford in their 6-3 loss. So, overall, 5-point weekend for a defenceman is not bad going. He had some good form as well, I think, last season. So we know what he's about, but I think that for them stats for D-men, including Killen as well, is just, top. If they can maintain that throughout the season, they'll pick up some massive points. So, yeah, kudos.
Big point scoring and goals tallies for our defensemen this weekend. There must be easy 7 or 8 assists there and a couple of goals amongst it. So, great return from defensemen this week.
Yeah.
I'll go next for our centreman, good mate of mine, tongue in cheek, David Thompson of the Telford Tigers. I wonder if he still wants to call me that word when he comes to the Hull Arena. We'll find out, won't we?
What word was it?
I don't know.
Don't do it, boys. Well, don't do it.
Something like that.
Cancelled.
But yeah, as we've mentioned, the same. With Caleb McPhee there, another Telford player. Unbelievable weekend for them. 4-point weekend. 2 assists against Leeds for David Thompson, and then got 2 goals and 2 assists versus MK. So when you need your big forwards to come up clutch, as he finished the season really well, as Hull Seahawks found out in the playoffs, yeah, he's come out firing to start off the season. So well done to him.
Yeah.
Next.
Next.
Our wingers.
I'll go first if you want, Bradley.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to the Sheffield Steel Dogs, and it's another import. We've been a bit heavy with the imports this weekend, haven't we? We have no bias, we promise. But this guy really did well. It's Berg Endenov from the Sheffield Steel Dogs. I was really impressed with him against the Seahawks. He got a goal and 3 assists, including, I want to say, one on his knees. I might be the wrong player, but if it was him, it was sickening. And also, he got an assist on the Sunday as well in the overtime win against the Raiders. So again, 4-point weekend for Sheffield against Hull and the Raiders. And he was a big part of that, obviously, with 5 points.
Yeah, so another great play there. That assist on his knees was an absolute joke. I never want to see anything like that again. Yeah, it's only good when we do it. I know you've touted him up in pre-season already, Rossy, as the scouting man of the podcast. You are named to us and says he's going to be a player this season, and 100%. Yeah, he turned up. Let's just say that.
Keep your eyes on him. If you're not following him, not keeping tabs on him, this is the public service announcement to do so, because he's going to do bits this season.
And that brings us on to our last position, another winger.
Final.
Go on, Bradders. In there.
Okay, so final is Reese Smetham from the Bristol Pitbulls. We touched upon Reese earlier in the Big Talking Point segment, but he had a phenomenal performance against Solway. Picked up 3+2 in what was their obviously first points for this season. So to pick up 5 points in a 6-2 win is a big statement, I think. So yeah, hats off. I mean, if he carries on the season like that, Jesus, we could be looking at one of the top point scorers in the league. So yeah, that's a real achievement.
I want to note as well, that was a huge game for Bristol. And they're not necessarily had the best pre-season, so to get 2 points on the board was really important in that game, especially at home. So that sort of sets them off a little bit. That done it. Needed a big win there, and they'll have bags of confidence because of that. Yeah,
I think you're bang on. They didn't have a great pre-season, and it could have been easy to start the season off with low morale, not much confidence in the ranks, but they've come out there and just absolutely blitzed it. And as you've mentioned there, the Smetham boys have come in clutch and absolutely rinsed the opposition there. So yeah, that sort of wraps up the team of the week this week. Be interesting to see what the people think to our picks and maybe throw some back at us. I know we've had a couple of other potentials in there. I think you rounded these ones up, Rossy, didn't you? So we had Bobby Chamberlain in there with a 3+1. Dominic Gabage, as we mentioned when we talked about the MK Lightning, getting a 2 and a 3. Is that Scott McKenzie there for Telford, 2+2? Watson.
Another steel dog. It might have been him who had the assist on his knees, Either way, disgusting. One of him or Gendanov need to tell it off because it was just unneeded. It was a backdoor pass as well. Do you remember it? Oh, horrible. Horrible.
I'm sure it was a no look as well. Drop to your knees, no look, flick it across.
Rats.
And the final sort of other potential candidate was Luke Ferrara, who was 1+2 of the weekend.
Yeah.
But great weekend, lads. Some great plays, and a big congratulations to the people we've picked. Let's get on to our predictions and the fixtures coming up for this coming weekend. So now we've come to the final part of the episode where we talk about the upcoming fixtures. But we've started a new little trend for this season where we're going to sort of hold ourselves accountable for our predictions because we all know we all talk rubbish. So yeah, we went through each of the fixtures and we all picked who would win and picked some results and see if we could match them. If we guess the right team, it's 1 point. If we guess the exact score, it's 3 points. Rossy, you're the man with the numbers. You've done a bit of a roundup to see who's done what, and I'm quite intrigued because I can't quite remember, man. So,
yeah, I don't know what I'm going to post it here.
So early days.
You was a bit at a disadvantage last week because you had to shoot off, so you only got to choose the team rather than scores. But it's tight, boys. Does anyone like counting up what they've got there that maybe remember, or are we all sort of blue?
I was a bit. I know for a fact I've got a bit of a weldy in here, and I hope it's done me well this week to get me off to a good start. But I can't quite remember what you two got, so I'm hoping I've got a nice gap here.
Right, I can confirm that in the third place, with a respectable 4 points, is Bradders. So Bradders, you're currently in the drop zone. Early doors though. Early doors.
Yeah, I'm not worried yet. What's the forfeit anyway?
We haven't decided that yet. I think we're gonna line you up in front of a bunch of Seahawks and let them pepper you with shots or something. Yeah. Not so far in front is me. I've got 5 points, so there's only 1 point in it. And with a very respectable 8 points this week is Azza. So Azza, you got 5 results right, including one that was bang on. So you got the score right as well. So, and that was the MK versus Bristol 7-2 result. So absolute kudos to you, mate. Well done.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Bit of a wild guess that was, and I can't believe it actually came in, but it's got me a nice little gap early doors, so I'll take that.
You know what the
crystal ball out.
You know what the most horrible thing was? I guess 7-3. Oh, can't believe it.
Horrible. But yeah, I think this will be a good laugh for us down the road, fellas. It'll be quite enjoyable. Like we say, we'll have to see what sort of forfeit or punishment we can come up with. It'd be great for some of the fans maybe to throw some ideas at us.
Double points week.
I think it'd be great to have the forfeit at the playoff weekend when every fan's there.
Oh, imagine.
So yeah, we're open to ideas. Anybody who's watching, send through some ideas, and we'll see what we can come up with, and there'll be a forfeit.
Definitely.
With that, boys, let's look at the upcoming weekend then. So I think, Rossy, you're going to note down people's predictions again, aren't you, as we go through?
Yeah.
Great. So straight away, boys, looking at it, we've got a Friday game, and it is the Sheffield Steel Dogs and the Peterborough Phantoms. And this one could be a tough one to call because obviously Sheffield got the 4 points, but Peterborough also got a nice result against Leeds. So tough one here. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first if you want. I think, this is going to be one of the harder results to predict, I think, across these coming weekend's games. Both teams have got the capability to come away with the points on this, so I don't think anyone's going to run away with it. I'm going to go Sheffield. I think they'll just edge it, maybe like 4-2.
I was going to say that.
Oh,
right.
I'm going to...
Oh, sorry, Brad, to interrupt you. I've wrote all mine down. I've wrote 4-2 as well. I guess I'll tell you what, because you went first, I'll change it. I'll change, man. So, do you want to go 4-2?
Yeah, I'm going 4-2. 4-2 to Steel Dogs. I think it'll be close call. It's somewhat similar to what we experienced last week, where Peterborough might have to pull a keeper and there'll be a late goal in it. So, yeah, I think after seeing what Sheffield did to us at their rink, I can just see him coming away with it. But it won't be easy by any means.
Okay, I'll follow up. I'm going to go a bit outrageous here, and I'm going to go for a 5-1 win for Steel Dogs. I think there's some goals in that Steel Dogs team, and I think it could open up. And I don't know. I'm giving a bit of benefit of the doubt and giving Peterborough a goal, but I don't know how this one's going to go. I aren't looking too much into the result against Leeds. I think Leeds are a bit subpar at the minute, and I think Steel Dogs will come out with this one.
Well, I initially had 4-2, Brad. But I've now changed it to 4-3. I think it'll be a trickier game for the Steel Dogs than they expect. Peterborough didn't play on Saturday as well, so arguably fresher legs. I know they've all probably had a week, so that maybe won't go into the factor of it. But I don't know. I'm looking at this Peterborough team, and I'm thinking maybe we've slept on it a little bit. Good up and down the lines, good young lads as well. Hell of a keeper. I don't know, but again, on the flip side, hell of a Sheffield team, so 4-3.
Cool. So that finished up the Friday games, and we're going to Saturday, and Saturday's Sunday, and I'll tell you why, because it's my birthday.
Hey! 21 again.
I wish. So the first game on the Saturday, fellas, Swindon Wildcats and Romford Raiders.
Can I go first?
Take it away.
Thank you. I've got Swindon to carry on their form. Hopefully Romford have Miller back and they make it a bit more of a tougher game for the sake of the league. But in terms of me not wanting to do a forfeit at the end of the season, I've gone for Swindon 5, Romford 2.
Ooh, that's close to what I was going to go for.
Yeah.
I was going to say I might as well go next, and I've got Swindon for 6-2.
Nice.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some goals there. It's at the Link as well, isn't it? So
yeah,
in front of their home crowd, 6-2 Swindon.
I'm going to go for Swindon, but I'm going to go for 4-1.
Nice. Interesting thing about Swindon this weekend, they don't really seem to have had loads of goals from the forwards. I know Eddie Bedbridge is classed as a forward now. He's playing forward, but he was a D-man last year. And he was on who got the majority of the goals against us. I know Ben O'Connor got one as well. But even when they was at home, I'm sure that they had like a couple of the defensemen scoring. So that'll be an interesting factor to take into account, that if their new import forwards can sort of kick on and start chipping in the points as well.
Interesting. Bit like this next year. Bristol Pitbulls hosting the Leeds Knights. On any other week, you'd have gone for an absolute bang career. But as the first week, maybe just thrown us a little bit. I'll go first if you want. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Leeds.
But I thought you were going to go the other way then.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to...
That would be some start to the season if Leeds loses 3-1.
It'd be a great result for Bristol, that.
Yeah.
Brothers, are you going to be controversial or what are you thinking?
No, I'm going to go Leeds, but I'm going to go 4-3.
What, he's going to copy me again?
4-3 Leeds, yeah.
Smith and Boy is going to be on them performance enhancing roasties again.
Well, that's what... No, 4-3 Leeds.
Yeah.
The reason I've gone 4-3 is because I do think there'll be goals from both sides, but and I wouldn't like to say like Bristol was only going to get one goal because I think they've got more in them this season. So yeah, 4-3 Leeds.
We've gone for a clean sweep, boys. I've gone for Leeds too. I went for 4-2. I think this might be the game where Leeds can start to build a little bit of momentum. No disrespect to Bristol, but it might have been one that they had circled in the calendar as if to be like, right, we need a big result here. However, on the flip side, that can also go way against you because You know, they're no pushovers. Bristol. They've got the likes of Josh Batch and Britnell and Dunbar and people like that who can show up, and the Smetham brothers who obviously they've really come into it as well. So they're not going to be a team that you push over really easily. Look what they did at home against Solway last week. So who's to say on home ice with that crowd behind you who do pack that rink? To be fair, Bristol fans do get behind them. It might be a trickier game than possible, but I think Leeds will win 4-2.
Another interesting one then, fellas. Milton Keynes hosting the Solway Sharks.
I'll take this one first if you want. I've gone MK for this. I think it'll be 6-2.
I was very similar. I'm going to follow you straight up with this now. I was going to go 6-1 for MK.
Just seems like that's...
Reasons,
just think that's what you're going to get with MK this season at home. I think when they win, it's going to be high scoring, and the games that they get dragged in, they probably lose points or come away with, maybe a 1-2, 2-3 goal lead. But yeah, I just think Solway, we've obviously got the travel again, but that they're going to come out, they'll want the win, the desire will be there, but the quality of MK will just shine through. And I think towards like the sort of end of the second period, that's when they might start getting a little bit leggy, and MK, we all know what they're like, they'll start putting goals past them.
Yeah, I've gone similar to you boys. I do think MK are going to make that rink a fortress like they did last year, and that's how they did so well last year. And I've gone 5-2 to MK.
I do feel slightly bad because obviously our good mate Jake Bolton are probably thinking, God, I like these lads, and now they're having us to get absolutely pummeled on the weekend.
It's just their circumstances are just so hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and other than the Seahawks, they're in a team probably that I want to back more than Solway. Just because I've said it last week as well, I hate it when teams are dealt rubbish cards. If they had the rink from the start of the season or from the start of the summer, I wouldn't be, throwing out excuses or this, that, the other for them. But I just think it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth knowing that they're having to, really stretch just to do normal stuff like training, and they're on the buses, and I don't know, and that's the nature of being a Solway player, I guess, that you're going to be on the buses. But I just think it's rubbish the card that they're dealt with, and obviously Basingstoke is semi in that boat as well with their rink not being ready, but they're travelling an hour down the road rather than 7, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the final fixture on the Saturday, and it's a real tough one. This one, Peterborough Phantoms, Telford Tigers. So Peterborough play Telford and Sheffield in the opening of this week, which is quite. I mean, they'll be done Saturday night, so that it's feet up on Sunday for Peterborough to see what everybody else does. But a real tough weekend for Peterborough, I think. Here, Sheffield, everybody's eyeing up, and Telford starting the season the way they have. Like I say, people seeing that first weekend going into Telford this weekend might be thinking, what we're going to get. Who wants to take the early prediction on this one?
You want me to go?
If you want, yeah.
I think that this is like battle of the bogey teams. Like last season especially, teams that are notorious for going. It's hard to go to their rinks, and they play their rinks really well. I think it'll be a real tough game. Because of their fixture on Friday, I'm going to go Peterborough 3, Telford 4. I'm going to get... I don't know what it is. I think they're going to have to graft on that Friday, the Phantoms, and if they take a bit of a pummeling like you predicted then, they might be licking the wounds a little bit. And with a fresh Telford at the moment, probably one of the last teams that I'd want to be playing the night straight after Sheffield, when I know that they've got fresh legs and we haven't.
Yeah, I'm going somewhat similar to you there, Al, but I'm going to go for Telford 3-2. I don't think this is going to be a particularly high-scoring game. I think it's going to get drawn into one of them gritty games where it's end-to-end and you've got to really fight for the goals. But seeing the form, obviously, Telford have put in this weekend gone, I think it's going to be hard to doubt that they would go in and pick up a result against Peterborough. Arguably, you've played some of the best teams. You can do it. You're coming in off a massive high. It's going to take a bit to try and stop that train. So, yeah, I don't think it'll be a particularly high scoring game. 3-2 Telford.
I'm going to flip it the other way around. So I think Peterborough at home are a pretty formidable side. So I want to go 3-2 Peterborough on this. So I'm going against you two. So this could be a real good one.
Fair play.
First one of the weekend, First one of the weekend going against, with every single result's been the same team to win. So that's good. I like a bit of mixing it up.
Yeah, like I said, I just think Peterborough at home are a really good side. And they did a good job against Leeds at home week. And yeah, that is the only premise that's splitting it up. I know they've had a great start to the season, but comes back to that old protect your home ice, and I just think it might be enough for Peterborough this weekend.
Yeah.
That finishes up Saturday, boys, and we're going to the Sunday, the 28th September, which is another birthday on the podcast. But who is it?
You can send your messages to the Slapshot Syndicate Instagram account. Thank you, everybody.
We do take gift cards, Amazon ones.
I like Costa.
Right then, fellas. So the fixtures don't get any easier for us to predict here. First one on the Sunday, Steel Dogs, Swindon Wildcats.
Game of the weekend, this. Game of the weekend. I'm just throwing it out there.
Do you think?
I do. Sheffield versus I know the other one that you're looking at, but Sheffield versus Swindon, two form teams.
This is a real tough one to predict.
I'm going last.
I'll go for it if you want.
Go on then.
I think it's going to be literally come down to overtime. I think Swindon will win it in overtime, like 5-4.
I was going to go very similar. I was thinking Swindon, but 4-3.
No! No! That's what I thought.
You've already written yours down, mate.
No, I can't think for myself. I'm going to have to go to sit.
Damn it. 4-3. Oh, no, I wrote 4-3. I'll change if you want. You went first, to be fair.
We can have the same result.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
4-3?
Yeah, you've already pre-written yours before we sat down tonight.
So. That's very true. Yeah, 4-3. Everyone back in Swindon against Sheffield. Interesting that.
I just want to point out that this is a 4:00 face-off as well. It's a pretty early doors. So by the time we sit down for our game, an hour and a half later, this one should be nigh on wrapping up a bit here. So we'll know before we sit down what.
That's true.
So it'll be interesting that we'll be messaging each other before we get to the ring.
Yeah.
Some game. The next game on the Sunday is Leeds Knights, Bristol Pitbulls. So this one is part of a double header.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to go for Leeds on this one, and I'm going to go for 4-1 with Leeds at home.
I've gone for 6-3 to Leeds.
Wowza.
I've been a bit undecided with this one, so I'm going to go 5-4 Bristol. 5-4 Leeds.
Oh,
sorry.
You see my face? That's the clip. That.
like I say, I think Bristol have got goals in them this season, and this Leeds team are the same team as they was. So I do think they've still got the ability to come away with a win, but I think they will leak goals. So that's my whole rationale behind that.
That was
could be high scoring, but then they've got that class, haven't they? So they should be getting results against teams like this. If they don't, then it probably is panic stations.
I think like this, after this second weekend, this might shape how we start predicting the games going forward. Like, I know what you said there with Bristol, but as well as they did in that first week, I'm just waiting to see if it's going to continue. Yeah. And if they do get some of this weekend, then it will change my whole foresight of how to predict the Bristol games. Literally will be the one where we sort of see where people are at, I think.
Yeah.
Where we start predicting from here.
It's about consistency with them. They've got the keys to it, haven't they? It's just if they can stay consistent.
Yeah, exactly that. So, next game, Romford Raiders, Solway Sharks.
This will be an interesting one, this, won't it?
Yeah, I'm really struggling of how to go with this one.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
I know that they took Sheffield to overtime last week, sorry. But I think after a tough night in Swindon, as I'm predicting, and I think with Solway also having a tough night, I feel like if Solway go 3 on the bounce losing, someone in that camp is going to be, spitting feathers and saying, we need to pick this up now. No excuses. Let's get it done. So I think I'll keep backing them. I think Solway are going to win. I think it's going to be 3-2.
Yeah, I think we've all had the same thought process here, to be honest with you, because I'm the same. I didn't actually think of a score, to be honest with you, but I was thinking about how the game's going to pan out, and I think this is where Solway pick up their first result. Although arguably Romford was one of the harder places to go and get a result last season, I just don't think they're that same team, are they? We've talked about their struggles with the roster and stuff, so happy to be proven wrong, but I'll go with Solway like a 3-1.
Yeah.
So you've
do you want to go 3-2 as well?
No. Do you know what? For the fact that we're going for points here, I'm going to go the other way instead. I'm going to go for Romford. I don't want to.
Do you hear that, Jake? You want those?
I'm just thinking to myself now and trying to bag some points off of you.
Yeah. What are you going to go for then, Ez?
3-2 Romford.
Okay.
You can take a risk higher at the minute. Sat on 8 points.
Why not?
Morally, and what I want Solway to win this, and I agree with you two. I think this will be the one where they'll probably get their first win. But in terms of prediction and get myself up the table, I want to take a bit of a risk here, and hopefully there might be a bit of a banana peel here, and I can score an extra point. But we'll see. So back to the Seahawks now. Seahawks MK Lightning at the Hull Ice Arena. This one could maybe mean we're either coming out swinging with only one game this weekend due to obviously Basingstoke's situation, or we're going to go 3 on the bounce losses. What we're going for, fellas?
I didn't actually write this one down earlier. I got too nervous and bottled it. But I have just written my answer down. But I want to wait and see what you boys say first.
Yeah, I think you're right, as I think Hull, we're going to get some training sessions in this week, and Matt is going to start drilling the boys and seeing what he can get out of them, and hopefully we'll see that energy come into the Sunday game. So on our best day, we probably can beat Milton Keynes, but I think at the moment I'm probably going to edge this one to Milton Keynes, like 4-2.
I can't believe Matty Davis thinks I'm an inside agent, and you've just said that. Because I'm actually going to back us, and I'm going to go for 4-2 Seahawks.
Oh yeah, fair. It's fair.
Yeah. What's the rationale as?
Again, I think Matty's going to get into them lads this week. Rumours are he's asking for extra ice time to get some extra sessions in. I think there's going to be some real smoke up some people's ring piece this weekend, and there's going to be some people with a point to prove. I almost think at this point, not to sound real dramatic, but I think there's potential for people to play on high lines, depending on how this weekend goes. I think this is the one where Matty says, if you all want to play for your actual positions in this team, this is the one I want you to go and win it. Not just for us to get our season kickstarted, but for the people who have turned up, because the first weekend wasn't good enough. So maybe a bit of hope in there, but I really want to back us, and I want us to go take a scalp with MK.
I'd love nothing more. I would sacrifice the points for it, but
I'm willing to give every single player in that Milton Keynes team some grief for someone to come on that ice. I just need our boys to do the job for us.
Is that because they didn't do us an interview in the summer?
Yeah.
After the footage you got for him at Cov as well.
I know. Unbelievable that. Nice one, lads. I've just gone for a bit of a wild one. it sort of marries up with both of what you're saying. I don't think MK are going to come, and I don't think they're just going to score 1 or 2 goals. But I also think you're going to have an angry Czech import who's going to want to prove a point. And I think you're also going to have a Bobby Chamberlain who wants to prove a point against a team that he notoriously doesn't like. Hopefully Stally's okay. Hopefully Sobs is fired up. Hopefully Johnny and Bones are going to be up and down like nothing. And I think we're going to come out with a win. And I think it's going to be 6-4.
You what?
Vindaloo hockey. We're going to score 1 more than you.
That's 2 more.
Well, you know what I mean. It's the song.
The delivery of that was class. Yeah, that's 2 more.
It is, but Anthony Russell quote that. If you know, you know.
I'm just more surprised by the amount of goals you're saying there, if I'm honest. I mean, that's some ding dong. That I don't know if the old chest can take that on Sunday. The
game of the week, wouldn't it? If it did, why not 6-4?
I'm here for it, to be honest, because we ain't got a game, have we, Saturday? So
that's it. Fresh legs, isn't it?
Yeah, all of that energy from us as well is going to be built into Sunday's game. So
hopefully, Carter Ramo goes to his old stomping ground on Saturday and bangs a few heads together, and then Jake Bolton jumps in again as well, and they come licking the wounds on the Sunday.
That's quality. Right then, fellas. Last fixture of the Sunday: Telford Tigers, Basingstoke Bison at the Telford Ice Rink. So this will be Basingstoke's first outing, which makes it quite a difficult one to predict, in my opinion, because Basingstoke didn't have a bad pre-season at all. They actually took the scalp off Swindon in pre-season.
I'll go first then.
What?
Telford 6-2.
Oh, fair enough.
I was going to go 5-2 Telford.
Was you?
Yeah.
I've gone, well, it's a clean sweep. Sorry, so Brad, you said 6-2, didn't you?
Yeah.
As a 5-2, yeah. I've gone 5-3 to Telford. I think they're going to have 8 points by the end of this weekend, boys.
Mm.
I know. Imagine saying that to some Telford fans a couple of weeks ago. After the second week, you've got 8 points. I do think this might be the hardest game Telford have faced, with a fresh Bison team. I know that it sounds ridiculous with the teams that they've already played and they're going to play this weekend, but the Bison aren't going to be. Bison have got no expectations on them, and they've got a good squad. They've got some good young players. They've got some good imports, and Max Wright in goal as well. So that'll be tough. But I just believe in this Telford team at the minute.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say, if
get him mauled.
If there's any Telford lads that watch and you do get 8 points, I want one of you on the episode in the coming weeks to discuss this.
I know exactly who'll come on. On the Tigers will come on. He's an absolute legend as well, Matt. He'll be on in next weekend. If Telford do the double, we'll get Matt on.
Absolutely, because it'd be interesting to see what's going on down there, because if they got 8 points, that'd be absolutely unbelievable. So that rounds up the fixtures for the coming weekend. That also wraps us up for this week's episode. So I think it's just the usual. Thanks for watching. Appreciate all the support, the comments, the likes. Once again, we're just 3 lads from Hull that talk nonsense. We can't predict scores to save our lives, but we love doing it. Any comments from you, lads?
Yeah, I just say all opinions are our own. We don't mean to cause any offence to anybody, but last season was where we started up. We was just working out what we need to do, how to run this stuff, and it was about Christmas time. In 2025, we started this, so this is going to be our first full season of doing it. So it's going to be worth watching. There's going to be a lot more to come. We're going to have forfeits. These predictions are going to come in. There's specials that are coming. Stay tuned, because you're not going to want to miss it. And help us on our journey. Get involved. We love hearing from everybody, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. We don't really care. We just want to hear from you. So yeah, stay in touch.
Definitely. You can do that by following us on Instagram, Facebook, all the good stuff. Make sure you're over on YouTube, subscribe, like the post and share it. It helps a lot more than you know. And also, because of Azza, we're on Spotify as well. He usually gets it up on the Wednesday night after it's been up on YouTube. So you can go and enjoy that if that's your preference too. But overall, massive thank you for the reception on last week's episode. And obviously, if you're watching this and we've got this far, then thank you for tuning in as well.
Great stuff. Thanks, everybody. Cheers, lads. Take care.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.